I'm Teisha with Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, February the 25th, 2014. Israel is neither denying nor confirming an airstrike last night against Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Lebanese media reported late last night that Israel Air Force jets hit a missile base near Lebanon's border with Syria. It was also reported that several Hezbollah militants were killed in that strike. Media outlet Now Lebanon reported that among those militants killed was Hezbollah field commander Haji Hassan Mansour. When Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was asked about the airstrikes against the terror group during a joint press conference today with visiting German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the Prime Minister said, "Our policy is clear. We will not speak about reports of what we did or didn't do, but we do all that is necessary in order to defend our citizens." It is thought that the airstrike targeted dangerous weapons, possibly ballistic missiles, being transferred from Syria to Hezbollah forces in Lebanon, something Netanyahu has stated Israel would not tolerate. Hezbollah denies that any airstrikes took place against it.
This is an important meeting.
And turning to Netanyahu's press conference and meeting with visiting German Chancellor Merkel, Merkel addressed several issues, including boycotts on Israel and the peace process. Merkel stated that while Germany has rules for labeling products, including those produced in the West Bank, they do not support a boycott against Israel. She also reiterated Germany's support for the American-led peace efforts and for the two-state solution, and said that Palestinian recognition of Israel as a Jewish state is a critical piece of any peace agreement. An issue that Merkel recognized there was disagreement on between Germany and Israel was that of the settlements, an issue she said that was of concern. She said Germany supports Israel's request for security assurances in a peace accord with the Palestinians, saying, "We don't agree on everything, but we shall have to overcome this obstacle." Merkel also addressed the threat of a nuclear Iran, which she said was not only a threat to Israel, but to Europe in general. And Prime Minister Netanyahu restated at the press conference that boycotts against Israel were immoral and harmful, and said he hoped the rest of Europe would follow Germany's lead to reject them. Regarding the peace talks with the Palestinians, Netanyahu said peace must be based on ironclad security arrangements, saying the conflict can't end without the Palestinians giving up all national claims to the Jewish state. He said, "We hope Palestinian authorities' Mahmoud Abbas is willing to end the conflict. This will be seen," Netanyahu said, "in the coming weeks and months." And later in the day today, Merkel met with Israeli President Shimon Peres at his residence, where the president presented her with the Presidential Medal of Distinction, Israel's highest civilian honor. Peres gave the award to Merkel in recognition of her commitment to Israel's security and her efforts in fighting anti-Semitism. Peres said to Merkel at the ceremony that he and his country were greatly appreciative of her. He said, quote, "You've never hesitated to give us the necessary tools to defend ourselves." He also recognized that Merkel has stood up against the prospect of a nuclear-armed Iran. Peres expressed his optimism at the ceremony that a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians was possible, and said the talks were currently at a, quote, "critical juncture." Merkel also reiterated her hope for peace and restated her calls for a two-state solution. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, announced that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew will both address the bipartisan pro-Israel lobby's policy conference next week. AIPAC said in a statement that the two influential cabinet secretaries are leading the administration's efforts to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, and noted that Secretary Kerry is also leading the United States' effort to achieve peace between the Israelis and Palestinians. AIPAC also just confirmed keynote Senate speeches from Senators Chuck Schumer, Robert Menendez, and John McCain at the conference. And as we reported to you a few weeks ago, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will also be speaking at the policy conference. The AIPAC address is part of Netanyahu's itinerary when he travels to Washington, D.C. next week to meet with U.S. President Barack Obama at the White House on March the 3rd. The AIPAC Policy Conference runs March the 2nd through the 4th in Washington as well. An ancient mikveh or ritual bath was discovered in Spain. The 15th century bath was found at the site of a synagogue in the old Catalonian Jewish quarter of Girona, which was a thriving Jewish community before the Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492. The synagogue, which was founded in 1435 and abandoned with the expulsion of the Jews, is now the site of the Museum of Jewish History in Girona. A public presentation of the mikveh at the site was held yesterday. It was attended by Minister of Culture of the Government of Catalonia, Ferran Mascarell, Mayor of Girona, Carles Puigdemont, and Israel's ambassador to Spain, Alon Bar. Bar said, "I commend the discovery of more evidence of a Jewish presence and want to encourage this cultural treasure in order to maintain links between our peoples." And an archaeological find in Israel to report to you about. The Times of Israel reports that a treasure trove of silver earrings and ingots, metal formed into a shape, thought to be over 3,000 years old, was found in Israel's north near its border with Lebanon. According to academic journal Strata, the items were found during the discovery of a large stone structure, which was originally unearthed this past summer in northern Israel, overlooking the Hula Valley, a location associated with the biblical city of Abel Beit Ma'akah. The structure was discovered by a team of archaeologists from Southern California's Azusa Pacific University and Jerusalem's Hebrew University. Near the structure, a jug holding the silver items was uncovered. Based on the items found around the jug, the items are thought to be from the late Bronze Age or early Iron Age, approximately 3,300 years ago. Digs at the site are expected to continue this summer. The Associated Press reports that a cartoonist from Germany has apologized for a caricature of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, which some said was anti-Semitic. The cartoon called Facebook Octopus, published Friday in Munich daily Süddeutsche Zeitung, portrays the Jewish Zuckerberg with a hooked nose, his face on the body of the tentacled octopus, grasping at computers around him. It is meant to depict Facebook's recent acquisition of WhatsApp. Dean of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, Rabbi Abraham Cooper, called the image an outrage. Jewish news site Al Gemeiner said Cooper said that the nefarious Jew octopus was a caricature deployed by Nazis that was used pretty much as a staple by the Nazis in terms of their hateful campaign against the Jews in the 1930s. An exaggerated Jewish nose, he said, removes any question if this was unconscious anti-Semitism. Cartoonist Burkhard Moore said he didn't realize the caricature's resemblance to images used and printed by the Nazis. He told the Associated Press that he deeply regrets, quote, "this misunderstanding and any reader's feelings I may have hurt."
No.
Jewish actor, writer, and director Harold Ramis has passed away at the age of 69. The Chicago Tribune reported that Ramis died early yesterday morning in Chicago from complications of autoimmune inflammatory vasculitis, a rare disease that involves the swelling of the blood vessels. Ramis was known for his acting in such comedies as Ghostbusters and Stripes, both of which he also co-wrote with co-star Bill Murray. Ramis's directing credits include Groundhog Day, Caddyshack, and episodes of NBC's The Office. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, and 2 grandchildren. And turning to our Shalom TV programming for tonight, Tuesday, February the 25th, at 7:30, Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz discusses the challenges of the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, or BDS movement. At 8 o'clock, author of the award-winning My Promised Land and Haaretz columnist Ari Shavit addresses the recent Limud conference, where he talks about Israel's future. And then at 9 o'clock, Dorit Nachman, widow of the late founding mayor of Ariel, Ron Nachman, talks about the West Bank city. That's all coming up tonight here on Shalom TV and shalomtv.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Tuesday, February the 25th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.